I'm Sonika and I'm an IMT3 and Clinical Academic Fellow in Gastroenterology in North West London.
And I'm Rohith, one of the third-year internal medical trainees. Welcome back to the BSG Trainees podcast and our first episode for 2024. Today, we're looking forward to the year ahead and at one thing in particular, the commencement of specialty registrar training.
We know it can seem like a stressful process from the outside, so we're going to spend 2 episodes with people who've either gone through the whole thing or are still in the middle of it themselves. They tell us what they wish they knew from day one and what the highlights have been since starting.
Hi, my name is Aditi. I'm also known as Dee. I'm one of the gastroenterology registrars working in the West Midlands. I'm heading into my ST7 and I've just finished my PhD. I'm also one of the associate editors for the Frontline Gastroenterology Journal, and I'm also the trainee representative for the IBD subcommittee for BSG.
Right. Thanks for joining us, Aditi. Do you have any top tips that you might want to give to any new registrars that are joining in gastroenterology later this year?
I would say my top tip is to be very open. Don't go in knowing that you're just going to do transplant hepatology or you're just going to do advanced endoscopy or IBD. Make sure you go in and you try and experience everything in those first 2 years. The beauty of gastroenterology is that there's just so much. There's so many different routes that you can take. You can do nutrition, IBD, advanced endoscopy, cancer, obviously liver. So there's lots of different avenues, and just be very open-minded when you first come into it.
And what is something you wish you knew when you started off as a registrar?
So I would say maybe not something I wish I knew, but something that I'd like to pass on. That the reason why I joined gastroenterology was I had a really good female role model who was in her 40s, and she had just come back from maternity leave. And it kind of made me realize that you could do this incredible specialty and still have a family and still be amazing at what you do. So I would say that don't hesitate to start family planning. Don't think that you aren't able to do it all. You just need to time manage very, very well to do it.
And you've managed that so well, and you're one of my role models for that as well, actually.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sure you've had many highlights in your career, but is there one moment that stands out for you once you became a registrar that you want to tell us about?
So I think one of my highlights is going out of program and taking those 3 years to do a PhD. And I've learned so much. I've had so many opportunities thrown at me, and it's been an incredible experience. It's been a very hard experience, but really fun at the same time. I would say one of the most highlights would be when I finally made it to the cecum in my colonoscopy. And I literally just wanted to drop the scope, like you drop a mic, say, I'm done, I'm out, I don't need to withdraw, it's all over now.
Nice one. Thank you so much.
My name is Ahmed. I'm a North West London trainee reg.
And tell me, what top tips would you give to new reggers that are starting this September?
First of all, I think have a think about where you want to go for your hospital placements. And I think I'm always of the theory you should go to possibly like a busy DGH at the start of your reg career. You get thrown into the deep end, you get lots of experience, seeing all the different things that you need to see. Just so that as you become a more senior registrar, you've got that experience behind you. You've seen those multiple cases, so you feel much more confident. And then when you go to a teaching hospital much later down the line, the teaching hospitals are usually much more specialised. So again, you feel more confident seeing those specialist cases. You can get involved in those complicated procedures. I think that's always the better way around to do it if you can. It's not the end of the world if you don't, because then my second tip would be is get to know your reg colleagues. And I think what's really good is you will normally get a nice mix. So if you're one of the junior regs, you'll probably have your senior reg colleagues. So get to know them, work together with them. And a great place to do that is the training days, because as you can imagine, everyone's so busy with work as well. You don't always get a chance to mingle. But on the training days, everyone will be there in one place. Definitely use that opportunity just to get to know everyone, network, share common interests. It's great. It's really fun. So I definitely recommend those 2 things.
That sounds really good. And is there something that you wish you knew when you started off as a reg?
I like to be quite organised, and I like to, I guess, have a checklist of these are the things that you need to achieve by this time period. And sometimes it's not clear. But I think there are documents that are available that tell you like these are all the things you need to achieve. But I think it's little things like just being clear about these are the specific things during your 5 years, 4 years of training that you need to do, and the timeframes that you need to do them by. But there are things like JAG. For when you want to get signed off endoscopy, you have to register on JAG and start logging your procedures on JAG. So making sure you sort that out early, because you need to get someone to approve you and then get your username and password. And that way, when you start doing procedures, you don't want to have to like sit down one evening and log them all on.
Yeah.
So that'll probably be something to get sorted sooner than later. Once you start on your first day, just find out who's the JAG lead for that hospital. Get your name, get them to register you, so then you can hit the ground running. Definitely. That would be my
really
top
good
tip.
idea. Yeah. And has there been any reg highlights for you, Javad?
I think it's, when you actually get to that moment where you might be super busy, dealing with lots of referrals, lots of things going on, but you have enough knowledge and experience that you're able to actually feel like you're a valuable contributor and you have knowledge to impart. And I still remember when I first did a colonoscopy and I made it all the way to the end by myself and even got into the terminal ileum. So I remember that was as like an ST3, and the consultant was like, it's very unlikely you're going to be able to do this. You'll need a couple of goes. But I think within like 10 colons, it must have been an easy colon, don't get me wrong, but I got to the end and they were like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. So that was a nice feeling.
That's good.
Back when I was an ST3.
And how do you balance your reg training with life?
No, it's a good question. It's tough. I think there's no secret. I think you have to be organised. There's so many different elements going on in terms of, as a reg, you're not just responsible for the wards. You're going to have clinics. You've got that responsibility to get endoscopy procedures in. So it's just about being organised and being able to know, okay, these are the opportunities I'm going to take up, supporting peers and use the help. You won't be able to do it all by yourself. That would be, my top tip. You just have to sit down, it might be cheesy to say, but, you got to write out your whole timetable for the year, know where you expect it to be, so then there'll be no, mistakes or muck-ups, as it were, because it can make a big difference. That makes or breaks.
Yeah, planning ahead, basically.
Absolutely.
My name is Mujtaba. I'm one of the Northwest gastroenterology registrars. I'm also the training section rep for the Northwest and the EDI rep, and I'm hopefully going to be starting my ATP soon.
You've got your post, so you will be.
Yeah, I will be. You never
exciting.
know, right? I might just quit and go into private practice.
My name's Sunny. I'm a clinical research fellow from the Sheffield Group, and I'm the previous chair of the BSG training section and now the ex officio chair.
Lovely. Well, as seasoned registrars, as you both are, would you have any kind of a top tip for any incoming registrars that are joining this later this year?
I mean, pick your seasoning. That's probably quite important, which is pick what specialty you want to do. But equally, if you're a fresh starter, know that there are opportunities everywhere. Sometimes you just have to be a little more hungry than the next guy, and you need to go for that opportunity. I think there's going to be a lot of service provision for everyone. That's the demand within the NHS. But you need to find a balance where you do what's best for you, but equally provide a safe service. So yeah, be hungry, seek out opportunities, and try your best.
Everyone has different objectives when they become a registrar, and I think you need to learn about yourself and figure out what you want to do with it. So Mudge is absolutely right. There are opportunities everywhere if you want to take them. I think what you have to figure out for yourself is which opportunities are you happy to take and which opportunities are too expensive, so to speak. And I don't mean that financially, I just mean in any sense of the word. So decide what you do want to do and what you're less inclined to do. You obviously need to have a basic standard in everything. So that will come with time and experience. But then I guess try and select the things that you really want to do and become good at those if that's going to be your area of interest. And then even when you're a med-reg, I think being a med-reg is one of the most fun jobs. This has been recorded and, they may play it back to me one day on a night shift. But I think it's fun to see the more medically involved side of the cover or take because you just get to see or input more things and make more interventions. And you've got the experience to do it because you've been working for at least 5 years at that point. So believe in yourself and it'll all be better than you think it will be.
I think I'm going to agree with Sunny on especially the med-reg bit. I think now, as the years have gone by, I'm a little more practical about being the medical registrar. I think I've done my time. But it's also a lot of fun, especially in night shifts. That's probably when you make your best friends.
Camaraderie.
Yeah, that's when you get to know all the nurses. That's where, when people like you get pestered less for work. That's when you buy all your takeouts for your juniors and get them coffee, and you just build a team. And unsurprisingly, those skills, those non-technical skills, they go a long way in anything that you do. Endoscopy is a very good example. You get along with your nurses, you have an easy ride.
Yeah.
If your nurses hate you, you're just going to suffer.
That's a bumpy ride.
Okay? It is a very bumpy road. I've never been on that road, but people tell me it's really bumpy. So yeah, make friends and you will definitely get ahead in life. Another thing that I want to plug in, and Sunny probably should have as well, BSG. Join the BSG, become a rep, try to join as many committees as you can. Find a Sunny on Twitter, harass him, and get opportunities for yourself. You'll definitely find them.
Yeah, love it. I feel like my, motto that I would definitely start as a med reg would be like, have you eaten? Ask everyone.
Yeah, so I think Mudge made probably the most important point, look after your team.
Yeah.
Your job is to look after your team as much as the patients, which means taking them for food, getting the takeaways the morning after, sitting with them, having a drink, and that obviously doesn't have to be alcoholic. That's not a debrief necessarily, it can just be a relaxation thing. Doing activities afterwards. We've gone for walks, we've had ice cream, we've had breakfast after a night shift. It's a really, really important part of it, so a very good point.
Yeah, no, I agree. One of my F1s once made us all do yoga. And I had a bad back for the rest of my shift. So just pick what you want to do.
And was there something that you wish you knew when you started as a registrar?
Medicine.
Do you want me to take this one?
Go for it.
I can give you a good answer for this one because, again, on the same theme which we explored earlier in the BSG Live Talks, I think there's a lot of pressure when you become a registrar, now that the program's 4 years, to pick a specialty, be super specialized, and then within that subspecialty, say hepatology, pick a disease and then dive into the center, the heart of it. And when we start doing this, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And from our medical school till the point possibly we end up in a grave, there's just a lot of pressure. But I had a chat with one of the professors recently, and I was telling him, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I've picked this fellowship, and what if I don't like it? What will I do? My life's over. And he told me he started as a cardiologist. One of the people who actually led the ATI trial was an intensivist. And the reason that he actually did hepatology, in his own words, was he liked to talk a lot, and the ICU people didn't let him talk, so he swapped specialties. So you're going to have the rest of your life to be brilliant at something, and I'm sure everybody who does gastro will be brilliant at something. You can also develop your career when you become a consultant. You can pick a specialty, then you can learn skills till the day you drop dead. So just don't be hard on yourself, and that is easy to say, very hard to practice.
I actually really enjoyed it from the beginning, and I was very lucky to feel fairly comfortable doing it. And I think the reason for that was because I had an incredible mentorship. So the BSG does a mentoring scheme, which I would encourage you to consider. I was very lucky to have two incredible mentors in Professor Bardan and Professor Sanders. So they would guide me, and I think having somebody you can talk to is really, really important. And I think that's possibly why I can't give any other tip on that question, because you get prepared when you have people who support you.
Yeah, I think just building on what Sunny said, and I agree with him 100%. I think when you're picking a mentor, you need to pick somebody who actually has time to give to you as well. Interestingly, the person who's helped me the most in my life is an IBDologist. He's a professor in IBD. I'm doing an ATP in hepatology. But every step of the way, he's just been there to just talk to me when I was down, tell me this is how you do things, this is how the world works. And you need to have that connection with somebody. And I've been very lucky. Sunny clearly has been very lucky as well. You just need to find those people early, because somewhere in the middle, you're going to feel very lost. And sadly, even some of my friends, I tell them my problems, they're gastroenterologists as well, they don't have time. So you need to find that one person who's just there for you. And that's where the BSG mentorship program is excellent.
Yeah, and speaking about finding time, how do you balance being a registrar with work, with life and all your other commitments?
There's an assumption in that question that we do balance this. Ask my wife. I'm here. She's at home studying for an exam. It is hard. Depends on what hobbies you have outside of work. For a lot of people, their hobby is also work. And I don't think that's wrong. I think the presumption that you shouldn't be working out of hours because even though you enjoy it because it is labeled as work is not fair. I know a lot of professors who live eat, breathe, sleep their job, and they're absolutely happy for it. And there's nothing wrong with it. You can go against convention. I would much rather be writing a paper than doing yoga because my back hurts, okay? So you do you, and just be happy doing you.
That's great.
So that's an interesting perspective. I can see where you're coming from, and a lot of people do really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I think you have to have a word of caution. If you only do it, you do run the risk of burnout, and we see it. So I think you need to find some form of balance, and that often means being honest with yourself. Look, you're absolutely right. The job is really fun. I would happily go to more endoscopy lists and clinics and even ward rounds.
Just to be clear, I never said that.
Okay, fine. But it's fun to do. But it's an opportunity cost. Every time you go to one of those is a day you don't spend with your partner or your kids or your friends or your hobbies. And so you just have to try and have honest conversations with yourself. The other thing that can be very useful, and what was useful for me, was my partner telling me that I'm working too much. Because you sometimes don't see it. And it's only when you then take a step back that you realise how many things you were missing. And you don't want to get through all your training, all your career, missing everything. So have those honest conversations with yourself and with people who care for you, just to make sure you get the right balance. It is difficult. You will definitely get it wrong at points. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just get better after it.
So my lack of recreation is reflected on my partner more than me, then, I'm saying. Because she has never pointed this out to me.
Maybe
we will have a tough conversation tonight when I go home.
Well, if it works, it works. Everyone's different.
Yeah, maybe she's happier having me not around.
And then the final question we have for both of you is there a moment that you can recall that's been the highlight during your gastro registrar training?
I think there is a moment. It doesn't have a lot to do with gastroenterology. I won't take any names, but when I got my training number in the Northwest, we have an annual conference every year. I was the CT2. I came to the conference. I didn't know anyone, and I was in a queue to get some coffee, and there was somebody behind me, and he tapped my shoulder, and he was like, "Oh, I haven't met you before. How are you?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. My name's Mujtaba, whatever. Nice to meet you." And then I turned around and I did my own thing. He was like, "If you need anything in the Northwest, this is my number. Please." And he told me his first name. "Please just get in touch." And I was like, I'm so cool, people want to get to know me. And 5 minutes later, that person gets on the stage and he's like, "I'm prof this with whatever PhD and 3 professors." I'm like, why? I will never show my face in the Northwest again. So that is probably what I remember the most. And that is why I love my Dini specifically. And it's probably the same everywhere. We're all a bunch of really good friends. Everybody's out there to support the next person. And that is the kind of system you need to build in order to survive in a challenging specialty like gastroenterology. Sunny and I worked together for a few years on the BSG section. He's a close friend of mine. Yaz, I love so much because I was in Jordan visiting my brother and Yaz was there. So we actually hung out in Jordan, which is where he's from. This is the kind of stuff you need in order to survive in a high pressure specialty like gastroenterology.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast today. Special thanks to all of our contributors for sharing their time and knowledge with us. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll be back soon with a second batch of conversations full of top reg training tips.
Yes, we've got even more guests who will be offering their insights on the registrar experience. So if you don't want to miss that, please make sure you're subscribed to the BSG Trainees podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks again, and see you next time.
Bye.